مرحبا بكم في حوارات السياق. على مدار الأسبوع الماضي تسببت أنباء الاتفاق الاستراتيجي طويل الأمد بين الصين وإيران في إثارة ضجة بين الجمهور والسياسيين الإيرانيين على حد سواء، ناهيك عن ردود الفعل على المستوى العالمي والإقليمي. للمزيد من المتابعة تنضم إلينا السيدة باربارا سلافين، مدير مبادرة مستقبل إيران في المجلس الأطلسي ومحاضر في جامعة جورج واشنطن. مرحبا باربارا.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
ماذا وراء الاتفاق بين الصين وإيران من الناحية الاستراتيجية، الاقتصادية أو السياسية؟
Well, this agreement has been under discussion for a long time, going back to 2016, frankly. So it's taken a long time, and frankly, the provisions are still rather vague. It's just a promise of more economic cooperation between the two countries, which makes sense from both points of view. Iran is a large country, more than 80 million people, and it's in a strategic location in the Middle East. And of course, China is the number two and soon to be number one economy in terms of size in the world. China imports oil from Iran and it sells goods and services to Iran. So I think it's a normal kind of relationship. It's the sort of partnership agreement that China has, frankly, with many countries in the world, including in the Middle East.
أفهم من كلامك أننا لا نعلم عن أي بند من بنود الاتفاق الصيني الإيراني.
No, we don't. And I think there's been a lot of hype about it for a number of reasons. Obviously, some Iranians are concerned that their government is making too many concessions to China, that it's not in Iran's interest. And then on the Chinese side, of course, there may be concerns as well. One thing that's constructive, though, that is coming out of it, China, I think, is trying to persuade Iran to return to compliance with the 2015 nuclear deal. If this happens, then trade between China and Iran will be a lot easier, and China also will be able to invest in Iran more freely without having to worry about US sanctions.
طيب ماذا عن البنود التي كشف عنها في وسائل الإعلام الأمريكية؟ هل هي غير حقيقية؟
I think some of those points, especially the $400 billion, it's just unrealistic. And maybe it was a wish list for some, but we have not seen the full details. And until we do, I wouldn't go by that published account.
الاتفاق يبدو وكأنه حبل نجاة صيني لدعم موقف إيران لما قبل وأثناء المفاوضات مع الولايات المتحدة، أليس كذلك؟
Yeah, I think it does strengthen both sides. Of course, the Chinese have had a number of difficulties with the United States as well, going back to the Trump administration. So it makes both countries look more powerful and more influential as they go into difficult discussions with the United States.
ليست المرة الأولى التي تتغلغل فيها الصين بقروضها ومساعداتها الاقتصادية داخل المنطقة، مثلا باكستان. هل سيناريو باكستان يتكرر هنا أم أن الأمر أسوأ؟
No, it's not the same as Pakistan. Pakistan is a long-time strategic ally of China in South Asia. This goes back decades when, of course, China was, fighting wars with India. And China and India still have rather difficult relations. So Pakistan has always been a strong Chinese ally, and China really has been a lifeline for Pakistan. For Iran, Iran has had more options in the past. I think Iran would like to have more options. I don't think Iran wants to have to depend on China for its economy. Iran is looking to its neighbors, particularly countries in Central Asia, Iraq, Afghanistan, and even some Arab countries. Iran still has pretty strong trading relationship with the United Arab Emirates, for example, and a good relationship with Oman. And I think Iran wants to get back into the European market. That's a real incentive for coming back into compliance with the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So I don't see it in those terms. But look, China is going to be the world's largest economy soon. It is a massive powerhouse in that part of the world and indeed throughout the world. We have the Belt and Road Initiative, a lot of other things that China has been pursuing. So it's an important partner for Iran, absolutely.
هل تعتقدين أن سياسات الولايات المتحدة تجاه دول الشرق الأوسط تدفعها نحو التحالف مع الصين؟
Well, certainly the policies of the Trump administration pushed Iran in particular closer to China. I think the Biden administration has a more nuanced policy. And as I mentioned, I mean, just as we're talking, there are meetings going on in Vienna and the beginning of a process to get the United States back into the Iran nuclear deal and to get Iran back into compliance with the nuclear deal. And this is a big change, obviously, from the Trump administration, which quit this nuclear agreement. On the other hand, of course, the United States under Biden, as under Trump, has made it clear that it wants to reduce its footprint in the Middle East, reduce its military presence in the Middle East. But I don't think China can replace the United States as a guarantor of stability in the region. It simply doesn't have the aircraft carriers, the Navy, the kind of presence the United States has had now for 4 decades.
ماذا عن تصدير الصين لأسلوبها في الحكم؟
I don't think China can export its system of government. And as you point out, it's not very appealing. It's very authoritarian. Right now, it's not even Communist Party rule. We're seeing one-man rule in terms of President Xi Jinping. He's like another incarnation of Mao, you know. This is not an appealing model. Maybe some countries like the fact that China doesn't criticize them over human rights, because after all, China's own human rights policies are pretty terrible. And that may be appealing, say, to the Iranians. They don't have to worry about that kind of thing from China. But, you know, actually, Iran has a more representative political system than China does. I don't think people want the China model. This is unique to that country. And China isn't looking to export its system of government. It wants to make money.
لكنها بالمقابل تتدخل في الأمم المتحدة لحماية حلفائها الاقتصاديين، أليس كذلك؟
Well, China votes in the UN Security Council, you know, to prevent condemnation of Syria, of Iran, of Russia for its involvement in the conflict in Syria. You know, China's interests are primarily commercial at this point, and it doesn't do anything that it thinks could jeopardize its commercial ties.
وكأني أفهم منك أن لا مساوئ للتغلغل الصيني في دول المنطقة أو الدول التي تعاني غالبا من أزمات اقتصادية.
No, I do see a downside in that I think that these countries need to have economic and political and diplomatic relationships with all countries. And they should not be in a position where they depend on China for any aspect of their economies. I worry about the penetration of Chinese 5G technology like that represented by Huawei, because I think that is a threat to privacy and to security in these countries. And of course, the United States and the Europeans, many democracies want to prevent China from gaining a monopoly over 5G technology. So I think that is very important. In terms of general economic relationships, though, I mean, China is going to be a part of this. It's a huge economy. It buys a lot of oil, a lot of raw materials from the Middle East and other parts of the world, Africa, and so on. So it's going to be a presence. We just need to make sure that it can't exploit that presence and that it can't cut out the United States, the Europeans, other producers of technology and of manufactured goods.
شكرا لك باربارا على وقتك وآرائك. نهاية حوارات السياق، إلى الملتقى.